one of the most important questions I asked my mentor was, what are some of the things what's one thing that I can kind of always think about, and whenever I find myself lost, to think about this. And right away he said, are you self-reliant? And I was kind of taken back to that because I didn't really know how to answer that. There's a lot of different ways to answer that, but I didn't really know what to say at the time. And I asked him, what do you mean by self-reliant? And he said, Carlos, when you grew up, and this is everybody, when you're young and you're in high school and you start going, you start having these dreams and things that you want to do, and especially like when you're in college, you start. I remember writing things down and say, when after I'm done with college, I'm going to do this, and you have all these ideas and things that you want to do, and what happens to most people is that you get out of college and right away you have to find a job. That's what everybody does. You have to start paying off your debts from school, and which is fine. So you end up getting a job, and you start getting a paycheck, and wow, I'm getting some money, and so I remember when I first got my first real job, I was like, man, this is so much money. I've never made so much money before. I was waiting tables and I had crappy jobs, and at that time I was like, man, this is awesome. But what happens is that those dreams and those things that you've always wanted to do, you start kind of putting it off, and you start being reliant on the paycheck, and you start being reliant on the boss, the company. You start getting very, very complacent and say, well, then you start doubting yourself, and well, this is not possible right now. I'm just going to save up a little more money. I'm going to do this. And in reality, companies and bosses, they really keep you around because they need you there for a certain task. And that's just the reality of it. And it's understandable. If I have a company and I hire somebody, I'm hiring somebody for a specific task. And one of the things that you could do is that we all start working for, mostly everybody starts working for a company. You get your first job out of school, out of high school, whatever. But the thing is, most people live in that kind of mindset, as far as saying, well, you start with your job and you start getting comfortable. You start saying, oh man, you hear those people, I can't wait till Friday. Oh man, I can't wait. And you almost just try to fast forward in your head every single day. I can't wait till this day is over. Oh man, it's Monday. Oh, I can't wait till this day. I can't wait till Friday. And you start fast forwarding that in your head, and you start living somebody else's time. That's not your time. You go to work, you come back home, you eat your dinner, you go to bed, you go to work the next day, and you're doing the same thing over and over again. And that's not being self-reliant. That's relying on somebody else to kind of distribute, money for you and create kind of your own world. But you're very limited because you're only getting a certain amount of what you want. And one of the things he always taught me is that the very first thing that you should always shoot for, and starting out, in any job or any stage of your life, doesn't matter whether you're young or old, and you start thinking like this, is that first you need to have progress, mental progress, and I guess just have independence, like mental independence for yourself, and start knowing that you need to grow, you need to educate yourself, you need to learn every single day, because when you're learning every single day, you're learning something new. You're preparing yourself for something bigger. See, life can't give a homeless person, a company to guide hundreds of people. It's impossible. It's just not going to happen. So in order to really receive these things and put yourself in those situations, is that you have to learn every single day. You have to grow every single day. And I'm not saying just because of money. I mean, you have to grow in life in general. I mean, the more you grow, the more people you meet, the more experiences you have, and when you do that, you start not living somebody else's time. For example, I remember when I first started, I was coming home and I was reading and I was working on myself, and you feel good. You feel like you're progressing towards something, even though I had a goal in my mind, and even though that goal seemed very far away, every single day, like, I remember, going to work and hearing people complain and about their, about work or whatever stage of your life, and I always ask myself, like, what are you doing? So what are you doing to better your situation and not be self-reliant? So, and the second thing is that you should always shoot to own your own creation. Own whatever you want to create it. You want to own it. When you work for somebody else, they own whatever you create. I mean, it's their property. I mean, I remember when I first got my first job, I signed a contract, and anything that I created, as far as if any anything that I made was property of the company. Like, they had rights to it. So you should always shoot for that later. But first, you have to focus on your mental reliance. You have to rely on yourself. You have to be strong. You have to dedicate time to yourself and not live on somebody else's time. You have to live on your own time. Even when you're at work, you should look for those opportunities to say, man, have more things to do. Have more responsibility. You learn different things as you go. A quick little story, and that I read this the other day, is Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of the richest men in the world. He told this story that he got a job from his dad in the docks. His dad owned a shipping business, and he said that when he hated working for his dad because it was just miserable labor. He hated it. He felt very oppressed. And he thought to himself, he said, well, in 5 years, I'm going to have my own business. And he worked every single day, and he said that from the moment he decided that work wasn't work anymore, he saw work as an opportunity to learn new things, and he started, talking to different people and learning new trades and new tricks that he knew he was gonna use in his business once he started. So before you start your own business or wherever you want to create, you have to grow yourself. And that's why, people that say, oh, those cheesy motivational books or whatever, those self-help books are bogus. It's not. You have to grow yourself before you can grow a big successful company or whatever you're trying to make. So he ended up after 5 years, he borrowed $100 from his mom and bought himself a boat, and he started transporting people back and forth in Manhattan. And by the time he was 21, he would actually gain gained a good amount of money, where he was actually almost very wealthy at the time. And this kind of just set the road for his his motto. And one of his motto was never be Inuit or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but he paved the way and became one of the richest men in the world with that same mentality. So everyone has to begin somewhere. So just always focus that even if you're working a crappy business, even if you're working at a pizza shop, at a company that you feel like you're being oppressed, learn something from it. When you're in the pizza shop, learn customer service. Learn how to make people smile, make people like you. Really notice your surroundings, notice people. learn from everything that you see, and you start to see that work is not really work anymore. Like, you go to work and just, but you have to have a goal. And once you have that goal, you start to look for those little key things that you want to learn. So whether you want to be a motivational speaker and you're working at a pizza shop, you're working as a janitor. Tony Robbins used to be a janitor before he became a motivational speaker, and he remembers like telling the story. He was like sleeping in the car, and but just it doesn't matter what circumstance you are. What matters is that you always take yourself away from being reliant on something, and especially in the world that we live in now, where it's so easy to, like, everything's so easy. We have iPads and everything's touchscreen. Everything's like, over the phone, over the internet. Like, everything's just, you don't have to even see people. But learn to always put yourself out there. Learn as much as you can. Learn everything that you can. Look for information. Most companies, I remember my experience, like, companies hide information from you because they just don't want you knowing more than you need to know. But stand yourself out there. Go after those opportunities that the company needs. Go after, like, unfinished work. Think of new ideas. Kind of keep yourself under the radar to a certain extent, because what's going to come to you is even bigger. You're going to be bigger than the company. You're going to be bigger than what people really think you are. They might just look at you saying, oh, this is just some guy that comes in here and picks up the mail every day, and they have no idea. And that's the beauty of it. Like, I remember going to work and just, my job wasn't that important, but and people didn't really, they just kind of told me, this is the guy that sits in the corner and looks at the computer, and but that's the beauty of it. That I always told myself every single day that this is just temporary, and I just try to learn as much as I could from my surroundings, from everything that happened every single day. I listen to people complain. I listen to those people. I listen to people that are successful. Because you learn from the people that are not successful, who have crappy lives, and you say, okay, well, that's not what, I'm not going to do that. And then you learn from the successful people and say, okay, well, I'm going to do that. So, guys, just really wanted to make this video to really, and I hope I inspire you guys, is that always have a goal in mind. And I almost laugh. I remember like laughing at myself sometimes, and it's sometimes it's like a crappy day. You just think about it. Like, I'm learning as much as I can, because this is just going to prepare me for my business. But really, really enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. I mean, guys, we're only really here for a certain period of time. So enjoy yourself every single day, even if it's bad circumstances. You're learning something from it, and that's life. That's the beauty of life, is that if life was all good and great every single day, life would, people would get kind of bored. You need a little spice in your life every now and then. You need things to kind of wake you up, and you don't grow from just being in a comfortable state. So, guys, I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.